September 24, 2013 Board of Commissioners meeting.
I'll support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Berner. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. The second motion is to accept the code of conduct separately instead of together of the Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion to accept the code of conduct as written, recommended by the Planning Commission Board, incorporated into the Oscoda County Planning Commission Ordinance 2010-001.
I have a motion by Commissioner Berner, supported by Commissioner Christenberry, to accept the code of conduct. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Now we need a motion with the correction of, I believe it was section 111. Anyhow.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend the 2010-001 Oscoda Planning Commission Ordinance Section 102, Membership Section 103, Liaison, Section 105, Members appointed and terms, Section 106, Removal from office, Section 108, Membership, Section 109, Meetings, Section 111, Meeting records, and is approved by the Planning Commission and their August 22, 2013 board.
I'll support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Berner, and I'm not going to read it again.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. I think we're correct now.
Until next meeting.
New business, Board of Canvassers. You have in front of you a motion to appoint Larry Largent as the Democratic Party to the board, representing the Democratic Party. Would someone care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to reappoint Lawrence
Largent.
Largent, representing the Democratic Party to the Board of Canvassers for a 4-year term as recommended by Oscoda County Clerk.
I'll support.
Motion by Mr. Wilson to appoint Lawrence Largent, as the Democratic representative to the Democratic Party, supported by Commissioner Christenberry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. The Republican Party nominee to the Board of Canvassers, we have 3. This has been a very convoluted appointment. At the present time, we now have 3 people. One has submitted a letter of intent. That would be Laura Kendall. We have 3 submitted by Douglas Davis Jr., the chairman of the Oscoda County Republican Party. He has nominated Alice Stone, Miriam Hendrich, and Joseph Stone. Henceforth, at the Republican meeting, Mr. Stone, Joe Stone, has withdrawn his name. So that leaves us with 3, Alice Stone, Miriam Hendrich, and Laura Kendall. It's my recommendation at this time that we take no action on this until such time as we have letters of intent from all members that have submitted their interest in being on the Board of Canvassers. So I'm suggesting that letters be sent to Miriam Hendrich, Alice Stone, and Laura Kendall. And then we will pick from those 3, if in fact we get letters of intent, also stating as required by the Board of Canvassers, the information that we need. So I don't need any action on this. We are going to send the 3 letters out. If there's any further discussion, please do so now. Very well. The letters will go out today, Madam Clerk. Labor attorney discussion. Commissioner Berner, would you like to address this issue?
Surprise, surprise.
You were here.
Yes, Jack and I met with a couple of the attorneys. One was Ms. Ellen Crane, and she is also on the Health District Department number 2. And we also met with a Gary King, the 81st Circuit Court Labor Attorney. Both were very good, very informative. They have very knowledge in their field. I guess to my looking into both people, I felt that I agree that we should go with this Helen Crane out of Saginaw.
Ellen Crane is with Braun Kendrick, attorneys out of Saginaw. I too was extremely impressed with Ellen and her demeanor and the ability to deal with the situation that we have here in Oscoda County. Her rate per hour is $165 per hour. Her rate was $160 per hour, if you will correct that. And Mr. King's is with Keller Toma Professional Corporation Counselors at Law out of Detroit. His rate was $145 an hour. We are recommending to this board that we go with Ellen Crane. Neither one of them require a retainer. It would be on an hourly basis with a 15-minute increment charge. But we feel that Ellen is just that much closer, an hour and a half closer to us if we do need her to be here on a short notice. We felt that she and her staff would represent Oscoda County to our best interest. So that is our recommendation, Bob, that we, I won't say retain because there is no retainer involved, but we do recommend that the board give us the authority to deal with Ellen Crane on our labor issues and during our labor negotiations. Any questions that the board has?
Who were we dealing with last contract? Either one of these?
No.
No.
How come we switching?
The rate that the other one charged was quite high, and he was out of Bluefield.
I just didn't know what happened to
I think we're talking about Peter Cole.
Yeah.
I have talked to numerous people that have dealt with Peter Cole, and that's why these two people were discussed. Not that Peter Cole isn't a qualified individual. I would not say that. However, we felt that it was time for fresh blood, shall I say, a fresh approach. Any other questions? Then I'll entertain a motion
So a motion to
allow us to work with one or the other.
I'll make a motion to allow Ellen Crane to represent Oscoda County at a rate of $160 per hour as of October 14th, 2013.
I support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Berner to work with Ellen Crane, Ron Kendrick, as support by Commissioner Christenberry. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Christenberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Grantner?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kishnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Warner?
Yes.
Snowplow advertising, or advertising for snow plowing at the airport. Last year, the board did in fact retain Precision Excavating for snow removal. It was merely an extension of the previous contract. It's my feeling that we should go out for competitive bids on this. We need at least 3 competitive bids. What is your feeling?
Is the reason they kept Precision last time, was there any other bids, or they didn't even bid
Precision
out?
Excavating actually has been doing the airport since way before my time, and mostly because of the fact that they have the equipment to do with what is necessary out there. They've put it out in the paper off and on, I would say.
You get more than their bid, or no?
Not normally.
I remember a year ago, we did get one other bid, and it was about half of what Precision Excavating would do it for. And upon investigation, we found out the guy did not own a truck, at least one that was running. So he had absolutely no equipment to do the job with, so therefore he could bid whatever he wanted, and hopefully, if he got the job, he'd buy a truck.
Plus, I believe they have to have liability
Insurance.
And obviously, this gentleman did not have liability insurance, so therefore, the second bid that came in was rejected. We can go 2 ways with this. We can continue to retain Precision Excavating, or we can go out for competitive bids.
If we retain them, would they take the same price?
I would think that that would be something Lee would probably have to contact them. Or I can well, I would prefer that.
Please should contact them, yes.
Please.
Should we not put it out for bids?
I'll make a motion to advertise for a sealed bid for 2013-2014 snow season for plowing out at the Oscoda Dennis Kaufman Memorial Airport for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Do I hear support?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wilson to go out for competitive bid, with a second from Commissioner Grantner. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Grantner?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kishnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Warner?
Yes.
Commissioner Christenberry?
Yes.
Probate court 3-year appointed attorney contract. I believe if everyone will take a look at their paperwork, in your original paperwork, the second page was not included. Therefore, it is included now. I see nothing in there that indicates really that we have a great deal of choice here. We have, I believe the district court has already got a contract. I believe circuit court already has a contract. So we'll have probate court, and now we'll have children's court coming behind this. Is that correct?
My understanding, they're working on it as we speak, so.
I talked to Brian this morning, and he said that it will be coming in for the next meeting, I believe. For those of you who don't know, this is for court-appointed attorneys for probate court, for indigent people, people that cannot afford an attorney. One will be appointed for you. The two attorneys that they're recommending or that they have given us as their court-appointed attorneys are Sally Gaylor and Christy McGregor. Is there any question? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
Is the $1,600 every year? Is that that's all they get? Okay.
If they're court appointed.
Okay. All right. I'll make a motion to approve the appointed attorney agreement for Oscoda County Probate Court as written and recommended by Judge Root effective January 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2016, contingent upon the receipt of signatures from all parties.
I'll support it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Grantner, supported by Commissioner Christenberry, to approve the appointed attorney agreement. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kushnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Garner?
Yes.
Commissioner Christianberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Gretton?
Yes.
BOC request. Citizens Court grant was approved for equipment by the state in the amount of $2,364. Buffy is requesting the board allocate upfront funds for this project, which will in turn be reimbursed back to the county. Now, if I read this correctly, that is only half of the grant.
Right.
Because half of the grant is Oscoda County, the other half of the grant is for Alcona County. However, dividing it out, I'm seeing a deficit of $172.90, which I assume is shipping and handling for the radios and what was the other one?
GPSs, I think.
And GPSs, yes. So the $2,364 will come back to the county once the grant is funded. Any questions?
Well, what about the $172? Is that going to be split between us and Alcona?
Well, that's that would be actually $344 or $45.80.
Oh, okay.
Well, that, usually what happens is if the grant is granted, and she has that little buffer in there. If you remember last meeting, we had some extra dollars, so we bought extra dollars in the grant. So we bought the siren controller out of the extra funds in that grant. So she's actually asking for a little bit more in the grant to cover, number one, shipping and handling, and the other thing would be that there would be a surplus. Anything we don't use would be returned to the two citizens, my understanding.
And then are we going to get half the GPSs and the radios, or how's that going to work?
I believe that would be up to Buffy how they distribute it.
Okay, all right.
I wish she was here today to explain it, but
Well, I'm just going by we did get our money back from the generator,
we did.
and that goes a long way. So I'll make a motion to authorize $2,364 up front for the Improved Citizens Corps grant for purchase of approved equipment approved by the state to be reimbursed back to the county, and so amend the reflected revenue and expense budget lines.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Grantner and support by Commissioner Wilson to approve the payment upfront for the Citizen Court grant. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Kishner?
Yes.
Commissioner Warner?
Yes.
Commissioner Christianberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Grantner?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Budget amendments for the building department, the ambulance department, and the Veterans Trust. We need to redistribute some money, folks.
I'll make a motion to amend the special funds 2010, the ambulance to 210, 249 building department, 294 veteran trusts, per list as requested, and so amend the budget.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wilson with support from Commissioner Grantner. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Warner?
Yes.
Commissioner Christianberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Grantner?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kishner?
Yes. Just an FYI, we have a letter of termination. This letter serves as notification that your agreement SFSC 12-68001 with the Department of Human Services to provide mentor services will be terminated effective October 27th, 2013 due to loss of funding. Final billing must be submitted no later than January 27th. Compliance with all agreements, with all requirements of the agreements is mandatory and must follow the timetable established in the agreement. Compliance with general provisions regarding closeout and continuing responsibilities remain in effect as specified. This is not something new. This is something we knew about. I think Brian Watrous has told us about this. Basically, they just pulled the funding. So therefore, it's an FYI for everyone. Okay, correspondence, reports, and resolutions.
Sharon, I believe we need to do expenditures and claims and all.
Claims and all.
Did I miss that? Okay, claims and audit.
Under the claims and audit, I'm making a request to pull the very last bill for Mary T. Design for $186.42. By passing this bill, we are opening up the contract without a letter of understanding between steel workers and the Oscoda County Board of Commissioners. By doing so, we are opening up a can of worms. We cannot do that without a letter of understanding to change the language in the contract to add polo shirts. It's not in there now and you can't put it in there. It's in violation of contract.
What does the contract say now?
The contract, it says that greater than 12 hours, 24-hour employees, 2 pants, 2 short sleeve shirts, 2 long sleeve shirts, initiated and then needed replaced. That is 2 of the blue long sleeve shirts, that is 2 of the short sleeve shirts, which are standard issued uniforms. The polo has been purchased in the past by employees out of their own pocket. It is not the county to purchase these shirts, it's not in the contract. due to the fact that the church, and if you'll see in the bill, there was a returning shipping fee and another fee. Bob, when he was in there as director, did submit a letter to everybody. They went in and they voted on the colored shirts, which they wanted blue for polo shirts, and they were purchasing their own shirts. They were ordered. This was taken through everybody there. Everybody had a chance to vote on this. They voted blue. When Jason Beck got in, he changed it back to black that Casey had. By changing it back to black, we have now a restocking fee. We also have a return postage fee on the blue shirts for Mary, which is included in this bill. And now we are faced with a bill. This is not including all employees. If you grant this, you're going to have to buy every employee polo shirts. And that's going to run into the hundreds. More than 186.42 now. So it's not stated in the contract that we supply polo shirts. This was an added thing by Casey Pullman that the people wanted in the summer.
The contract says 2 long sleeve shirts, 2 short sleeve shirts, correct?
Correct. Not
It
polo
doesn't
shirts.
say, it doesn't specify. Doesn't specify what kind of a shirt. It just says short sleeve and long sleeve. So I don't see where there's a conflict of the contract with the steelwork. Mr. Berner, do you have any comment to make on this?
Well, when I was acting the interim there, we did vote on what shirts, which they were the standard shirt issued before by Casey. They're blue. As far as the polo shirts, I know some of them were buying them themselves. So as far as like Larry's saying, I don't know if Jason wants to change that. But my understanding is, like you say, the requirements were 2 long shirts, 2 short sleeve shirts. If he's changing to polo, I don't know, would that not have to be a suggestion by the whole department, if they want to give their ideas, if they want us to maintain and we keep the same polo or the same shirts that they have, or go back to go to the polo. And I know when I did it, they took the vote on it, and they wanted to remain with the blue shirts, the regular shirts that they had always had. And Casey again did change it to a different type of shirt, black uniform. So to a point, I agree with Larry that I guess maybe that's Jason has to approach the ambulance crew and see what they want, instead of him making that final decision that he wants to go with strictly just polos.
Because as of right now, we have employees that have purchased blue shirts out of their own pocket. Are we going to reimburse them, every one of them, for these shirts that they cannot wear now?
Why?
They purchase out of their own pocket?
Under Casey's thing, there's also employees that bought their own short sleeve shirts, their own pants, uniforms, because he decided they could pay for it themselves. It was not the county's responsibility. So I have outstanding debts on that side of it too. Also, I didn't decide to look at the color of the shirt. My very first employee meeting, we took a vote on it in general because the employees felt that the original vote for the light blue shirts, the royal blue shirts wasn't, how do I put it, accurate. So they chose among themselves what they wanted to do. It was actually a better option for us to do that because it actually cost less money to replace the black shirts than it did for the air protection. It cost less money for us, as I said in that meeting, the initial meeting about the uniforms, to replace the remainder of the people who bought light blue shirts versus black. So in that respect, we bought that. As far as the policy does say uniforms, this is the uniform they chose for summer. I'm okay with it. It actually saved me money. On that particular receipt, you're looking at the replacement polos. Those people opted out of taking the long sleeve shirts instead, which saved me over $20 a shirt. So I was happy with that too. The policy does specifically say you can have two replacement for short sleeve uniform shirts or short sleeve shirts or long sleeve. And they said they won't take the long sleeve ones. So again, it saves you money. And it falls under uniform.
I have a question to this board. Why is this an issue? This is a department head's decision. Are we going to tell Sheriff Grace what uniforms he can put on his officers? I think this is a department head decision. We have put this individual in place to run the ambulance department. We have put the voters have put Sheriff Grace in place to put uniforms on his officers. We are not here to make those kinds of decisions. That's why we hire department heads.
And why are you hiring a lawyer to do union negotiations when one was hired for this contract? And this is signed by all people. You are breaking this contract.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I hope you ain't negotiating union contracts. Because you haven't had the letter of understanding to go in and change this.
Mr. Wilson, we have the right to retain any attorney we want in labor negotiations. Show me a contract with any labor attorney. We're going into negotiations for January 1st to December 2014. It has nothing to do with this contract at this time. This runs out December 31st. I have the right, as your representative, to discuss this issue with any attorney. We have now retained, or not retained, but elected to go with an attorney that we feel is going to do a good job. I don't care whose name is on this contract. That is in effect until December 31st, and more power to it. We do not have a contract with him, to my knowledge. If you can show me a contract with any other attorney, I'll stand corrected. But at this point, we do not.
When contracts are made up, all contracts, every year, turns over year to year, unless there's a letter put in the back of the contract, a letter of understanding that they are changing that part of the contract. There is nothing in the contract right now stating in this contract that you can change this. There's no letter of understanding. You are breaking the contract rules.
No, I'm not.
You want to bring Kevin in. Kevin knows that he can't change the uniforms without opening up the contract. Isn't that correct?
I guess I would beg to differ. If I choose to give them another short sleeve shirt, again,
Right.
if it specifically said they will wear a brown shirt with ensembles on the side, etc., that might be a different story. But I believe your contract is vague enough to probably allow Jason, myself, or whoever else to change what they're giving them, just as long as we're providing them the amount of items and what's on. I guess that's my take on it.
Right, the amount. 2 and 2, not 2, 2 and 2.
Yeah, but if I'm replacing, those others probably aren't in effect.
Right.
So we're probably still back to the 2 short sleeve or 2 long sleeve. Possibly if they choose to wear short sleeve all year long, maybe they're getting 4. That would be up to somebody else to decide that part. But they are obligated to have 2 and 2, and I guess my take is, as a manager, they have that right.
I don't see a problem with it myself.
Well, my recommendation is that the bill that's been submitted for $186.42 be included in the claims docket report. And that will go ahead and make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Which part?
I didn't get it first.
It was my motion.
Oh, your
Oh,
motion.
you're-
According to Robert's rules, you cannot make a motion without standing down off this board and turning the board over to the vice chair. That is in the Robert's rules. If you want to make the motion, you got to turn this over to Lee.
All right, would someone else care to make that motion?
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims and audits, and so we can pay the bills.
I'll support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Christenberry, support by Commissioner Berners. Roll call.
Commissioner Christenberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Greitner?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
No.
Commissioner Fishnick?
Yes,
Mr. Berner?
Yes.
thank you.
Now it's done.
Okay, expenditures for 2013 September.
Make a motion to approve the expenditures for the month of September 2013 in the grand total amount of $1,001,344.41.
I'll support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Christenberry with support from Commissioner Berner to approve the expenditures for September 2013. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Brenner?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
No.
Commissioner Kishnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Berner?
Yes.
Commissioner Christenberry?
Yes.
Correspondence. You're going to do the veterans?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, we got the Veterans Report, Oscoda County Veterans Affairs Report to County Commissioners for the September 2013 month. Report covers one period to the 1st to the 30th. There was 56 veterans and dependents that came into the office. There was 42 personal interviews. There was 22 messages left on the answer machine. They had 36 telephone calls made, 58 received, 2 faxes sent, 11 letters were sent out, claims submitted and reviewed were 25, home visits to assist with claims were 2, records requested DD 214 active duty medical got 6, information requested for finance aid through the Michigan Veterans Trust Fund was 7, outsourced emergency relief were 22, the hours put in were 42, volunteer hours were 32, T. Shepherd was MTV F hours for 28, mileage was 42, and travel was 0. And this was presented by Elizabeth Cunningham, who is the head honcho there at the Veterans Affairs office now.
That's her title? Head honcho?
Yep. You're gonna have to write that down.
Now, does Liz make these home visits herself, or is this through volunteers?
She makes them, along with Tom, I believe, too.
Is that right? Well, obviously, people, this was a good decision by Mr. Wilson and Mr. Berner to put this together, because I think we're doing a big service to the veterans of our community. And my hat is off to them. Thank you.
We have handed out over $20,000 now that went back into the community and grants, which is a good amount for the minutes of time that we put in there for these people.
Well, you did one thing right this year so far.
Yeah. We got a good one here. Cooper Standard, as everybody knows, they have put a addition on 50,000 square feet with equipment at $5.8 million. Between the year 2013 2015, there'll be a new 113 jobs with the average of $33,000 per person yearly. And they're now putting a big pad on there, which is, the pad's going to hold new parking and extra storage, which is a great deal of the community. We're going to make good tax money off this. I got to thank Cooper Standard for investing the money.
Absolutely. Mark, what did you do? I heard you raise your hand at NEMSCA.
I didn't do anything. That was handed to me.
Well, would you like to tell us what happened here?
I'm still trying to find out myself. It's just like any other meeting, you don't say too much and all of a sudden you're on another committee. So I'm on the Planning and Evaluation Committee.
For the Northeast Michigan Community Service Agency?
Yes, it's mostly with Head Start stuff.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you. Keep your eyes open at all times. Oh, and I did, Bob and Larry, I did, and I apologize, there is something, and I wonder if Liz knows about it. I was going to copy it out of the NEMSCA minute meetings. There is a homeless grant through NEMSCA that veterans can get too. I will copy that, and you guys can pass it on. I don't know if she knows about it or not. If
She
there's
may
any,
know.
if there's any extra funding, I thought, what the heck, okay?
I think we already talked, I think she did bring that up about the homeless, but still, yeah, give us the information.
Okay.
We'll pass it on to her.
No, I completely forgot about it this morning.
Okay. Oscoda County Ambulance Charges and Collections Report. Jason, did you want to address this issue?
I would.
Give us a little bit of input.
Before we begin, I actually want to go on record and publicly thank my staff. They stepped up to the plate and went to town this past month, and they worked their butts off nonstop, both off duty and on duty, filling in for a lot of shifts, and filling in for a lot of callback-ins for transfers as well as for emergency calls. So I do want to give a special thanks for that, and you'll see why in a second here. If you go to the 2013 reports for September, you'll see the number we have for billable is $103,888.60. That is officially the highest billable month we've had in the 5 years we've been tracking on this, and potentially the highest I think ever. So that's kind of remarkable in itself. That's kind of also why I want to be up here. We show improvements in our rate of billing versus our receivables. We were this time last year at 47.5%, meaning that we were only receiving, our gap was that wide. There was almost 50% gap between what we actually billed and what we actually received. This year, for September this year, we're at 32.6%. So we considerably dropped that, and we're actually sustaining more revenue. I expect this number to go up. If you look for September's, it'll show $103,888, and then our receivables at the present time are $47,397. The reason that's shown to be so low is because typical transfers, the return time on payouts takes about 3 months. So we'll see that revenue jump up shortly, hopefully. Our write-offs are still presently higher than they were last year. We're at 26%. However, last year in October, they had a substantial write-off month for, I believe, $27,000. Make sure I have that right. Yeah, $27,986. I don't expect to have that next month, so our write-off rate will go down. Let's see. Our refunds themselves are $973. That's money we pay back to the insurance company. That's at 9.8%, which is, I would expect it to be about where it's going to be at. That's money that we bill the insurance to make reimburse them because they overpaid us. So. I also, at the board's request from last time, they had a breakdown starting in July all the way to present of our breakdown of write-offs and what they're included. So you have collection write-offs, deceased, Medicaid denials, as well as what we call professional courtesy, which is if you pay in full. We give a reduction because of the amount of, it saves us in the amount of billing we have to do, so it saves us in labor. So other than that, these numbers are pretty substantial by themselves. The other thing that's kind of interesting to know is that we are actually down 94 runs from last year. So last year at this time we had 1,026, and this year we're at 932 so far. So that's a pretty substantial turnaround for that. And that's about the excitement I have to give to you. So do you have any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Jason. Committee reports. You're up, Bob.
Well, October the 2nd, several of us attended the MERS conference over in Traverse City. We had a couple of meetings we went to. One was reference manager options for funding post-employment benefits. And the other one was a MERS basic for trustee, reference like a retirement system partnership shared with municipalities across the state. Then I attended last night the park board meeting, went over the budget, which is just about breaking even. We're going over the bylaws, and we're going to meet with the Consumers Power reference dead trees, that we feel that they should come in and cut them down themselves instead of having our people do it. Because we got like 63 trees that are dead and that could fall either on the campers or something like that. So Dan is going to get a hold of them to see if they will take care of it. And then if we can cut it up and use it actually for firewood and sell that, we can make some profit off of that. And then there's going to be an agreement of understanding for the park manager. We're going to try to work that issue with him. Other than that, those are the only two I have.
Very good. Mr. Wilson?
924, Cumming Township, they had a public hearing, changing the property to a development district, industrial development district for Standard Cooper. They went over the budgets and stuff. 925, Standard Museum, went over the budget. The gun show made $1,100 for the museum. Mike Smith was in there and went over the OC Riverfest with the Standard Museum, about them putting up a booth with the history of the Saco River, which they agreed they would do. 10-1-2-3, I went to the merge conference for the landfill. 10-4, Bob, Liz, and I went over the contracts and the rental agreements and the soldiers and sellers contracts. 10-4, went over the claims and audits. 10-7, Brenda, Mark, and I went over the EDC planning, EDC, and revolving loan for contracts. 10-7, Clinton Township, basically the same. Jason got to talk. They hit him with quite a few questions. He was upset that they knew too much. He ain't never been hit with that many questions, but that was about it. That's all I got.
Thank you. On September 27th, I went to the landfill meeting. We are installing 8 new gas probes to be installed hopefully in November. And if you remember, we did buy an evaporator out at the landfill. Basically, if you're familiar with snow machines, that's what this thing does, only it blows a mist up into the air. It's the leachate out of the ponds. And to date, in a 3-month period, they've saved $57,600 in hauling fees and treatment fees, because it was hauled from the landfill to Alpena and run through their filtration system there, or their water treatment plant. So that is a very sizable savings just by treating the leachate the way we're doing it now, and tremendous potential there to save a lot of money. So things are going good out at the landfill. We have been told that RER is going to be coming in with a lease agreement for the gasification project. Hopefully we'll have some more information for you at the next meeting. Supposedly, isn't the next meeting that they're supposed to have that for us?
Yeah, we would send our contract to the lawyers, look over their contract with us.
So we're hoping that things can get going this fall. So anyhow, 9/27, I had a meeting with Attorney Ellen Crane. Bob and I went down to Saginaw and met with her at her office, and as we stated, extremely impressed. On 9/30, we had a meeting with the attorney Gary King, representing how the BOC will be able to utilize him as well. That is not something we're going to close the door on. I think Gary King may have some ideas that we could bounce off of him as well. However, you know, not having a retainer on either one of them, we'll still be primarily looking at Ellen King to give us information. 9:30, I went to the airport, and they did a final inspection and wrap up of the fuel farm. Everything looked good out there, and that's moving along, not quite as fast as we would like to have it, but it's still a tremendous asset for Oscoda County and the pilots that we have in the area and the ones that we have coming in. On 10/2, the other two commissioners have already told you about the MERS conference. Bob and I did go to the same meetings, and while I won't say they were super informative, I will say that they were interesting, to say the least. We did learn something, so it wasn't a total loss. On 10/8, I went to the road commission meeting. I believe that was this morning. Basically, what's going on over there, they've hired 2 new employees, 1 driver and 1 mechanic. And if you know anyone that is interested in a mechanic's position, they still have an opening for 1 mechanic. Lee Troyer has been hired as as 1 mechanic, and Brian Hudson has been hired as a driver. And that's all I have for now.
Jack, on that evaporator thing, do they have to shut that off in the winter?
Yeah.
Actually, that only runs at the most maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. So it's really, if we could run that 24 hours a day, we'd drain the ponds. We wouldn't have any leachate out there. But EPA or the DEQ will not allow us to run if no one's there. It has to be monitored when it's running.
But are they going to run it in the winter or no?
No, we will probably drain it and shut it down in November. Mainly because of the ice, you know, and the danger of the machine freezing up. But it's my understanding that it will be taken out of service. But the objective right now is to get the leachate ponds down more than they are right now, get them to the lowest level they've ever been for the winter, and then start it up again in the spring when get them the runoff and the melt. So.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
9/24, Tuesday evening, I went to the Cummins Township meeting. Bob Carpenter was there with his auditor's report. They also reported on the Perry Lake docks, and those seem to be working well. And the resolution for the Cooper Standard Automotive was passed, and it will be called the Industrial Development District, number 001. And as Larry said, that the job creation is expected to be 113 new employees with a good income of $33,000. September the 26th, Thursday, I went to the Crawford County Housing Commission. Cy had been on medical leave, and that was his first time back. So we discussed the different files that were pending for the houses that were being updated. And there was a builder there also, and some concerns over some of the homes. On Monday at 9:30, I went to the airport and met with Rod Nettleton from Meat Hunt, Dave Kaufman, Mr. Kishnick, and I for final approval on the fuel farm. October the 2nd, went to Traverse City for a MERS conference, and October the 4th, I went and reviewed the bills. That's it.
On 10/4, I went to the NEMSCA meeting, if you heard. Anyhow, they lost $958,000 due to the sequestration last year on their Head Start budget. Although they said they're out there looking for families and children, there's no waiting list, and they believe it's families are moving out of the area, and not out of just our area, but all northeast Michigan, because there's no jobs. There's no funding for the fuel program. Lee mentioned weatherization. They do have a weatherization program, but there's a 2-year waiting list on it. And that's not to say you aren't going to have your house or roof fixed. It's just you're going to have a 2-year wait due to the
They
funds.
didn't tell us that.
Yeah, well, there is. Anyhow, I was put on the Planning and Evaluation Committee too. 10-7, Larry mentioned, we met with Brenda and went over some EDC stuff, and that's it.
Thank you. Public comment. Do we have any public comment? Yes, Sandy.
Okay, we are moving ahead. We have a letter of intent ready to go to the Knights of Columbus as our chartering organization. I did talk to them already. And our next meeting, Mr. Warner, we just came up with this, so that's why I can contact you, is November the 4th here in this room at 7 o'clock. And we will begin signing our group up then. And that's it. So we're moving ahead.
What was the date? November?
November the 4th at 7 p.m.
In the BOC room.
Right here.
And you're going to be signing documents with the Boy Scouts, the Knights
We'll
of
be
Columbus?
we'll be signing, yes, we will be signing, we have to fill out forms to sign, to join their group for insurance. We will be starting then. And I have to thank Thomas for the nice article in the paper, and we're also on the radio. So,
We're not thanking him for the radio, though, are we?
How do you think they found out?
Exactly. What do you call it, poaching? Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas.
that's it.
Thank you, Sandy. Any other public comment? Oh, no.
You knew it. Just a last reminder on the Take Back Drug Days. We've got the Red Barrel project in place over there. You can drop them off 24/7, but October 26th from 8 to 5, I'd like to be able to try to get anybody that has unused medications and whatnot to drop them off by that time or during that time, so we can work with the DEA to go ahead and do the collection site and then get that disposed of in the proper way. But like I say, we'll still continue to take it after that. But obviously, if we can get it emptied at this point there and into the proper hands, then we'll just continue to sign up each 6 months for the program. But again, it's been very successful. I've checked it periodically, and I think we got a pretty good amount in there that have been taken off the streets and not in any harm's way of kids or someone getting to them that should not. So it's worked out very well, I think. So and I want to say a good job to Clinton Township for the Pumpkin Fest that they did over the last weekend. It was a lot of fun. We went up there and like I say, they did, even though the weather wasn't the greatest, I think they put on a really good event, and they're looking at doing it again next year. So I think they should be commended for trying to bring something into the area so locals could not have to drive 50, 100 miles or so to go to something like that. So I think they did a great job.
Thank you for that, and thank you for bringing up, I guess, I had the question, I wasn't able to get out to the Clinton Township Saturday, so I wanted to, I'm happy you brought that up.
Warning, it wasn't very well attended because it poured, but as soon as the weather kind of broke, I was pleasantly surprised that when I got there was probably 50, 60 cars in the parking lot, and a bunch of people out in Pumpkin Patch, and they had a bunch of kids events, face painting, pumpkin carving, painting, etc. And they had other vendors there that were promoting local charitable organizations, and apparently they did very well also. So it was I think very successful, and they're already, last night, they started planning for next year, so.
Thank you.
They do have pumpkins if you need any.
They do have a few extra.
Yeah, they do.
500, I think. And they did take 1,100 in, I think they said on pumpkins, they made $1,100.
Yeah, between, yep,
That's very good.
yep.
Any other public comment? I'd like to welcome Dwayne Roddy back with us.
Thank you.
He's looking good after surgery, and
Won't be when his wife gets done tonight.
just take it easy on the steps, buddy.
Yes, sir. No, and thank you, everybody. I did get a bouquet from the county and stuff, which was really nice. The recovery's going great, so thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion
For a 5-minute break.
for a 5-minute break, and then we're going to go into closed session.
I suppose.
Second.
No, I didn't make the motion.
Just gonna go on a 5-minute break.
He's going on a break, he don't care.
Okay, Bob made the motion, and
I'll second.
Commissioner
I,
Wilson made